Yes. Do we have everyone in the breakout room, or should I wait a little while?
I think you should be good to go.
Okay. So my topic for today was about marketing your forages and whether you're marketing them as grazed pasture or as the livestock themselves or as hay. I'm going to talk about some of the concepts that we need to keep in mind to be a good marketer. I'm not really going to talk about any specific numbers or market prices, but more about how to be a good salesperson and to establish a relationship with these people based on what I hear from my clientele. So, the things that we will cover in our short time together today are understanding what you have to offer, identifying your customer, providing the details that they need to them, keeping good records, and establishing a good reputation. I've been in my job now for 4 years, and it has taken me every bit of that time to establish a good reputation with my people. And I think it's going to take just as long for anyone to establish a good reputation as a marketer of livestock or hay as well. So a lot of this comes with time and experience, but I do have some tips to hopefully make this process easier for you. So when it comes to your forages and understanding what you actually have to offer, first thing we need to do is probably identify, is this your business or is this a hobby? And be honest with yourself about that. Because when we start to break down our expenses, if you're in the hay business, it is extremely expensive to make hay. Your operating costs are probably a lot higher than you actually think that they are. So when you sit down and you pencil those out, there can be quite a bit of shock on what your actual operating cost is. And if you don't have a sizable operation, the truth may be that this is more of a hobby for you to make hay than it is a business. I do think it can be both, but if we were to draw the line down the middle, your business makes you money. Your hobby brings you joy. It would be great if you can do both in the same venture. It should be easier to make money in a grazing system because you have fewer inputs. And then when it comes to actually marketing your livestock, we know a lot of that is going to come back to supply and demand and the ability to move those animals through a supply chain, which is pretty difficult to predict at this point. But your marketing strategies are going to be a little different based on if you are marketing your land as a place to graze livestock, if you're marketing the hay off of that ground, or if you're marketing the livestock that have grazed that area. They all have intricacies to understand, of course, and we don't have time to go into all of those intricacies today. I do have some technical information at the end if we have time. And if you have specific questions, please feel free to reach out with those later on outside of the meeting room. So what are the things about your operation that makes it valuable? It may be the quality of your product. I hope it is. The quality of your hay, the quality of your pastures, the quality of the livestock that you're producing. Genetics, absolutely. Whether that's the genetics of the grasses that you grow or the genetics of the animals that are eating that grass, starting with a firm foundation and good genetics is extremely important. And you should be able to use that as part of your marketing strategy to tell people about what you have. Then nutrition, the way that you feed your livestock or the way that you evaluate the nutritional offerings in your pasture or your hay field. One is going to make you more money, help your animals gain more weight, but it's also going to make you more reliable because you understand how nutrition plays into this and how your system is maximizing the nutritional benefits you have. And then here comes the hard part. How much do you have invested in this system? There are a lot of inputs into these systems, more into a hay system than in a grazing system, of course. Equipment is a huge cost. If you are able to buy used equipment that operates well, you can certainly save some money in your venture. But if you're buying new equipment to start a new operation, it's going to take some time to recoup that cost. And if you have a loan on that equipment, you're definitely going to be pressured to try to make that money back every season that you're using it. There's also your land cost, your rent, or the mortgage that you pay to be on that land, or the contract you have with someone to harvest their hay for them. You've got investment there that needs to be accounted for. And then there's your inputs into the system, like your fertilizer, your fence and watering systems, the general supplies that you buy, net wrap, baling twine, lubrication equipment for your for your tractors. Bethany's coming in to ask me a question. Yes. I'm sorry, guys. She's wanting a snack. And I told her that she'll just have to wait a little bit longer. I put the snacks where she can't reach them because she tends to snack if I'm not paying attention. Okay, so back to those investments that we have in the system that we need to recoup. You know, your general day-to-day supplies. Also, what does it cost to move your equipment, to move your animals, to get your hay to market? That needs to be factored in. Your seed as well, and your seed stock. All of this, and don't forget your labor. Your time is worth money. Even if you're not paying someone to do these jobs for you, you are investing your time, and that needs to be part of that investment picture. We often will write off some of these costs so that it feels like we're making money. We really need to be honest with ourselves and factor all those things in. Now, if you intend to make any money from your operation, you need to have a customer and understand what it is that they want from your products. So get to know them. Try to decide what your plan for marketing is. Who are you targeting? Are you offering freezer meat to families? A great option right now. There's high demand for that. It makes you feel good. It makes your community feel good. Buying local, eating local. That's going to have a completely different marketing strategy than if you're marketing specifically to a business. If you're trying to sell through a grocery store, if you're trying to sell through your local co-op, I know a lot of people will sell hay through the co-op, or if you're selling livestock straight into another production chain, they're going to have different expectations from you. Also keep in mind, what is their venture? Are they in this as business, or is it a hobby? Are they your friends and neighbors, or are they strangers? Part of that good reputation is some people may know nothing about you, and this is your first time to make a good impression with them. Some of them may have known you for a longer period of time and have a little more grace with you as you try to figure things out if you're new to the marketing game. But in any case, we always want to do our best to keep good relationships with all these people. And part of having a good relationship is listening to their needs and trying to fulfill them with our products. So learn what's important to them. Is it grass-fed? Is that what they're looking for? Is it they're looking for a certain species? When it comes to hay, we'll hear this a lot. I'm looking for good horse hay. Well, what does that mean? I personally despise that term because I think it tells you almost nothing. But usually what they're saying is, I want Timothy hay. I want Timothy with a little bit of alfalfa, or I want orchard grass. Give them that species-specific information. That tells you a lot more than trying to classify it with a general term. Give them the facts. If they're looking for Hereford beef, tell them that's what you have. That's what you have to offer. Some people won't care at all about those specifics, and some people will really value them. Then what's the biggest factor in it? Are they going to make this purchase? Is it the quality of the product, or are they looking for a bargain? You want to meet both needs. You want to provide a good quality product that is affordable, but don't shortchange yourself trying to sell to somebody. If they're not willing to pay you what your product is worth, that's a bad deal for you. Don't go down that rabbit hole. Provide what meets their needs. Keep that in mind. Are they feeding a family? Are they feeding their clients? Is this to maintain their livestock, to help growing livestock? Are they feeding during pregnancy or lactation? For all kinds of different classes of livestock, that's important. The same goes whether it's hay or it's animals. What are they intending to do with this animal? If you can figure that out, you can provide a better selection from what you've got to offer that's going to meet their needs. And they will appreciate that time you took. A lot of people that are buying things are not as knowledgeable as you are as the producer. So as much work as you can take out of that, as much guesswork as you can eliminate from the equation, the better. And then be available to answer their questions. Be accessible, be transparent about what you're doing, give them honest answers. And being flexible is beneficial, but don't flex too far. For example, some people may not have the ability to come and pick up a load of hay or a trailer of livestock. Maybe you can work in that, well, I could deliver that for you, but don't do it for free. There's a cost in it for you. So meet their needs while also meeting yours. You don't have to sacrifice one or the other. And then keep good records. Almost every slide I have here has keep good records. You want to record all of your transactions that you do, the contact information for your clients, and then it's always beneficial if you can do a follow-up with them, if they're willing to talk with you later about what they thought of your product, and set them up as a reference for people to call in the future as part of building that good reputation. Then when it comes to providing the details, in general, more is better. The more information that you can give your clients about the products that you are offering, the more confident they're going to feel in that decision to buy it from you. And I've got down here on the bottom, don't make promises about your product that you can't keep. And don't make statements about your products that cannot be documented as fact, because they will come back to bite you. Inevitably, somewhere down the line, something's not going to go as planned, and you don't want that to come back on you where they say, you told me that this was going to feed my cow at this stage of life, and it didn't work out for me. There's so many factors that could be worked into that are not your fault, that you don't want to inadvertently take responsibility for something that is out of your control. Give them the facts of what you have. Don't give them information that cannot be backed up. However, you can give them everything that you know about how you've produced your product. And I'm not saying hand them over your entire record book, but you should have a record book available if they have a question to ask you. And as soon as you refuse to answer a question, that starts to give a vibe of distrust, and you may lose that customer. So some of this is at your discretion, but do your best to be personable and available to answer those questions. So give them the dates. Tell them what the age of the animals are, or the date that you harvested your forage, when it was cut, when it was baled, when it was wrapped. Most people don't record that, but you should, because date of harvest can tell you a lot more than just first cutting or second cutting. That's not very descriptive. The more descriptive we can be, the better. The more we establish that confidence. Genetics is important. Whether it's an animal or it's a forage, what are you growing and what are they getting? When you're able to provide that information, they can do some of their own research to decide if that's a good option for them or not. Quality indicators. There are lots of tests that you can do. I would absolutely recommend that you forage test, whether you are selling hay, buying hay, or even just grazing a pasture. Test your forage, because you cannot manage what you don't measure, and they're not really that expensive in the long run. They're well worth their money. So do the tests, do the soil tests, do the forage tests. If you have the ability to follow up with a processor, if you're selling meats, to see how they grade, what did the fat deposition look like? That's important moving forward. Your performance records, have them available, so if they ask questions, you can provide it. And then those references are good to have on file, as well as your health, your maintenance records, and how you've stored your products, whether that's a freezer meat or it's a large round bale of wet wrapped hay. And then keep those records. We've got financial costs, cost to operate, our sales revenue, our expected growth, and also decline. There are many people that are trying to get out of the hay business, but they feel obligated to keep making hay because they have people that need it. So trying to factor in, how am I going to get out of this when I'm ready, may also be an important financial thing to keep in mind. Those management records, To make it as simple as possible, what did you do? When did you do it? And how? Keep your contacts on hand. The people that you consult for your advice, I hope that's your extension educators. Who do you sell to or buy from? Everybody is a client to somebody else. The services that you either employ or offer, and also the avenues that you market through, so that you can keep track of which ones worked best for you, whether that was a newspaper, it was Facebook, it was word of mouth. And then keep track of your struggles and your successes. We have to learn from our struggles and also celebrate our successes to keep us motivated to move forward. We're all going to fail sometimes, and we've got to be able to look back at our successes and celebrate those even in the after they've passed. And then coming back to establishing that good reputation. This, of course, takes time and patience. Be helpful to your clients, but don't be a doormat. Keep in mind, what's the goal of your business? Why are you in this operation? That needs to always be at your core. If making a deal with a client does not come back to support that core mission of your operation, it's a bad deal. You're not obligated to sell to anybody. You have the choice to make your own decisions, as long as you're not in a contract already with someone. Set your prices to be fair, but don't undersell yourself. Compare with what other people are selling for in your area, but come back and compare that to your financial investments so that you are still clearing your costs. Strike fair agreements, of course, that's going to keep people coming back to you, and follow through on your commitments. Be there when you say you're going to be there. Give them what they ordered. And things happen where we maybe can't follow through exactly with what we said we would, but be transparent with that person, be honest with them about why, and usually they will appreciate that you've reached out to make accommodations with them and work it out. Often that interaction will help promote future relationships with them. Be personable, be friendly. I think a lot of the complaints that I hear from people who are trying to buy livestock or buy hay is that they just didn't feel comfortable with that person. And the vibe that you have between a conversation with somebody can set the entire tone for your transactions. So try to be friendly and personable so they want to work with you. We are running out of time, but some of the other information I have here is specifically about judging hay and whether you're buying it or you're trying to sell it. We have those resources available if you'd like them. And I will share my slides as well with Amanda so that she can send them out to you if you have additional questions. I hope the sound has held out well for you this whole time and that the slides have worked. Again, my email address, I don't know if it'll pop up here. It's gelly.2@osu.edu, GELLEY.2. I check my email constantly. I'm one of those that's compulsive about it and needs to break a habit. So if you want to email me, feel free. I check it regularly, and I'll happily get back to you with any questions you have.
Thanks, Christine.
You're welcome.